Welcome everybody to today's webinar for online literacy in the 3 to 5 grade band. My name is Des Arnold. I am a Literacy TAC staff developer at Lincoln Intermediate Unit. On this slide, you can see the extensive team that has been working since the COVID shutdown began to bring you webinars, content, resources, and tools to support you as an educator, as well as parents and students. I'm sure that you guys have attended a few webinars at this point, so this all should be repeat knowledge. Some of our webinar meeting norms, the chat microphone and camera have been disabled due to the large size of attendance in groups. If you have questions, you can post them to the Q&A, but please remember that all of these questions, as well as the answers, will be visible to everybody in the Zoom room. If you need to speak, please raise your hand and myself or one of the co-hosts will unmute you. And please be sure not to leave before you receive the link for Act 48 credit after completion. As a PA educator, you are able to receive Act 48 credit for today's webinar. Jess will be posting a link in the chat box for your Act 48 form. This is only available to PA educators, and while educators across the country are welcome to join us as our parents, you can only receive credit if you are a Pennsylvania educator with a PPID. All of the webinars that have been held so far are archived on our LearnOn website. And you can visit our LearnOn website for additional resources, content, and tools. As we dive deeper into distance or remote learning online, it is important that we change our expectations. Keep in mind your continuity of education. I am aware at this point that Secretary Rivera has requested that all schools are doing planned instruction as their continuity of education and moving away from enrichment and review. FAPE, free appropriate public education, applies to all students, and that includes online education. Be cognizant of a student's ability to access the internet and their ability to access content based on what devices they have available. Remember, with online learning, less is more. Remember to prioritize and balance. Everything that you are doing in the classroom is not going to be done with online learning. On our LearnOn website, the link is at the bottom under best practices. There's actually a guide that suggests the amount of time students should be spending working on online education based by grade level. When sending video, it's important to let your students see your face. This goes along with our social and emotional learning. But be sure to limit the length. You don't want to send videos that are more than 6 minutes in length. Be clear in your objectives and expectations, and be clear in identifying the time it takes to complete a task. I have heard stories of students who are spending hours upon hours working on tasks that should only be taking 10 to 15 minutes. So make sure that your students are aware and be clear in identifying the time to complete the task. And be sure to be clear in your organization and sequencing of instructions. Before we move on, to our content today, I would like to let you know that Jess is putting links in the chat box. Some of these links will not be available for you to access until after the presentation is over. Due to Zoom updates, some of these links are not hyperlinked, meaning you cannot click on them. You are going to have to copy them and then paste them into the address bar of your web browser. So, today's outcomes. I want you guys to all learn how to use online tools and resources to support literacy in the 3 to 5 grade band. And when we're talking about literacy, I mean reading, writing, speaking, and listening. Literacy, as defined by the PA Core, is foundational skills in which students gain a working knowledge of concepts of print, alphabetic principle, and other basic conventions. These foundational skills are not an end in and of themselves. Rather, students apply them as effective readers. Our foundational skills are skills that are required throughout our literacy standards. However, due to the fact that we have provided webinars already on this content, we are not going to spend a lot of time, really any time today, talking about these foundational skills. Let's dive in, though, to reading. Students read, understand, and respond to informational text and literature with an emphasis on comprehension, vocabulary acquisition, making connections, among other ideas, and between texts of a focus, with a focus on textual evidence. Right now, there are so many websites that you can use to have your students read. Here are just a few: News ELA or News Ella, Freckle, Scholastic Learn at Home, Common Lit, ReadWorks, and Reading A to Z's Raz Kids is currently free through the COVID-19 shutdown. I did sign up for it today, and it is a 90-day free trial. You do not have access to all of the Reading A to Z content. You only have access to Raz Kids, which means that you have access to assign leveled text to your students for them to read at home. All of these sites have different features that make them excellent in providing opportunities for your students to read. Newsella is great for the 3 to 5 grade band. I would not necessarily recommend it if you have third graders that require remediation, as there are not lower level texts for them to read. So if they're struggling with word recognition on a third grade level, this might not be the best resource for them to use. But in Newsella, you can assign a text, any text. I just clicked on the first one. You can choose a level, Lexile level. But one of the things that I like about Newsella is maybe I am thinking of the wrong site right now. I apologize. I thought that this was one that had quizzes that go along with it. Newsella, though, does give you the option to print text, which makes it a great resource to use online or in your classroom. Freckle offers differentiated articles along with word study and assessment. Just wanted to show you, sorry, I logged in to all of these before I started today, thinking I wouldn't have to do it again. And then if you come down here to ELA, you have a library that you can choose articles from a K to 12 grade range. And then you can choose from skills practice, articles and stories, word study, decodables, which is great when we are also looking at those foundational skills, and benchmark assessments. So this is another excellent way for students to get text in front of them that they can read. One of the benefits to Freckle, they recently paired with Renaissance, which is one of 4 benchmark assessments that is recommended by PDE. But the program is differentiated and will assess students as they are reading and will not move them past what the system believes is their level. One of the benefits to Freckle. Scholastic Learn at Home is another free resource that has its own 3 to 5 grade band. Now again, because this goes from pre-K to grade 9, this is a great reading tool to be able to differentiate instruction based on level. But if we click on our 3 to 5 grade band, you can see some of the articles that are available. Whales, geography, sporting events may save sloths. That sounds interesting. So the variety of readable resources on this site varies in such a way that you're going to be able to apply it to students of all grade levels and all interest levels. One of the things that I like about Scholastic. Common Lit is another one. This is one my daughter actually loves. Common Lit. She is a 5th grader, and I have not gone in to play with this very much. So again, we have a variety of informational texts at a wide range level, 6th grade, 10th grade. You are able to filter by grade level. You can search by literary devices. And this also comes in handy when you're looking at assigning, creating assignments to help teach your TDAs. ReadWorks is another excellent site for reading content. And then I told you briefly about Raz Kids, free through the COVID shutdown. I have already created an account, but I do not actually see where to log in. This is very nice because you can assign texts to students based on their reading level. So for all of the teachers out there who use F&P or DRA to find levels and then do guided reading according to level, this would be a great resource for you to assign texts to students to read, or even literature circles. I guess 3 to 5 does literature circles as opposed to guided reading. So these are some of our websites to get students reading.
Des, before you move on, there was a question in the chat that I thought maybe would fit in well here. It asked if you are able to get these on Google Classroom, these resources.
I'm not overly familiar with Google Classroom, so it might be that you have to download the PDFs. So if we go back into like News ELA, it gave you the option to print, and from, oh, it does have a quiz. From print, we get a PDF, and from here you would be able to save it. And then you can upload the PDF into Google Classroom. I do not believe that you would be able to just assign the text into Google Classroom, but you would be able to upload the PDFs. So your resources like Newsy I believe Common Lit and ReadWorks also offer PDFs. Raz Kids, I know that you can get PDFs on Reading A to Z. I'm not sure if you can get PDFs on Raz Kids, but any of the sites where you can grab a PDF, you can assign a PDF in Google Classroom. Was that helpful in answering?
Another question did not come up, so I think that probably answered it.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to writing. Students write for different purposes and different audiences. Students write clear and focused texts to convey a well-defined perspective and appropriate content. Their writing can be informative or an opinion, argumentative, a narrative response to literature, a publication, research. The options are endless, but when we are writing, we want to ensure that we are following the writing process: planning, drafting, revising, and publishing. If you would like more information than I'm giving today on writing, I did complete a Writing to Read webinar. The link to the archived webinar is hyperlinked in the presentation. Writing to Read focuses on writing as a tool to build comprehension. It is the work of Herbert, and the other name is eluding me, but there is a paper that is attached to it out of 2010, I believe, research backing the idea that writing in response to text builds comprehension, specifically in lower achieving readers, or especially in lower achieving readers. Using Google Docs or even Google Slides as a platform for writing makes utilizing tools like Google Classroom so much easier. There's a YouTuber by the name of Pocketful of Primary who offers lots of tutorials on using Google Classroom, and I've actually watched some of her tutorials on building assignments using Google Slides and Google Docs. And the use of pictures as writing prompts. And here's one example. I have chosen a picture that is a work of art and given the prompt, write a story about the child in the picture. Who are they? What are they feeling? What is the problem? Be sure to use all story elements to complete the story. Now, a 3rd grade to 5th grader would likely know all of the elements that I am speaking of. For a lower achieving student or a younger student, you might need to spell it out. Tell them that you want to know the characters, the problem, the solution, the setting. However, this is easily created in Google Slides. You could then create a text box or even a second slide where students would type their written response. Speaking and listening are clumped together as one part of the PA core standards. Students present appropriately in formal speaking situations and listen critically and respond intelligently as individuals or in a group discussion. This is a way to assess comprehension, view collaboration, allow them to present their knowledge and ideas, and contains conventions of standard English. So when we're talking about making assignments for speaking, you can utilize devices. Most devices that students have, whether it is a Chromebook or a computer, a phone, or a tablet, contain some sort of voice recording app, but they all contain a camera in which you can record a video. If you don't want a video and you want only a voice recording and their device does not have one, there are tons of free voice recording apps in various app stores like iTunes or Google Play. When asking students to speak for an assignment, you can have them respond to a question or ask them to give directions, maybe sequencing. How do you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? But when having students answer a prompt or a task, be sure to inform them they should be using school language while completing the assignment. We don't want to hear home language or slang in these spoken assignments. You could ask students to tell a parent a story or summarize a book that they've read. And then much like a reading log, you could just have the parent sign off on it. You can also do share outs during Zoom. My daughter is a 5th grader, and one of the things that her teachers have done are asked the students to go on a scavenger hunt and find something that's important to them or find something that they've done. And they bring it back and they get a 20-second share out for them to speak in front of their teacher and their classmates and share what it is they brought back. You can also offer short presentations, which is something I've seen more in her enrichment class than in her regular classroom, which I think has to do with the number of students. It would be much easier to have 5 students share a short presentation than 25. Listening. We all know that listening is an important language skill, but also listening to text is a way to help build reading fluency. Listening to fluent reading models what students should sound like. There are 2 excellent resources that I have found. The first is Storyline Online. This is a fun website in which famous people read books, and a variety of famous people. Here is Karan Brar, who I think is a Disney star. Barbara Bain. I don't know who some of these people are. Wanda Sykes. It's exciting. So you click on the book and it is just read by a celebrity. My daughter actually spent a lot of time on this site just looking for celebrities that she was familiar with, but you could even, this is not only one of my favorite books, this is also one of my favorite celebrities, Sarah Silverman reading A Tale of Two Beasts. You could simply send them this link. There's a teacher's guide with conversation starters. Tells you about the story, some of the themes, and gives you ideas for reading and writing and suggested grade levels. Some of these books are going to be a bit below a 3rd to 5th grade level. That's okay. We want them to hear and listen to good reading. That good reading does not have to be at their level or above it. Ideally, we want to stretch them. But if you find something that's interesting or a topic that allows you to address standards or elements, allow them to listen to it. We want learning during this time to be fun, not tedious. We don't necessarily want to just assign work to assign work as though we would in a classroom. We want everything that we are assigning to be absolutely intentional and work to the biggest benefit that we can. The other listening resource that I've included is Audible. Audible Kids is free right now through the COVID-19 shutdown. And the library that is available is just beautiful. All of the Harry Potter books, picture books, elementary books, Anne of Green Gables, tween books, teen books, literary classics, folklore and fairy tales, Spanish books, German books, French books, Portuguese. I'm really impressed that I know the names of the languages in the languages that are being written. Italian. Oh. And Chinese or Japanese. So the library in Audible is vast, and just asking students to listen to text that is in Audible, even if you're not necessarily assigning it, giving them the option, here is the link to Audible, go find a book to listen to, is another option. So we have thoroughly gone over reading, writing, speaking, and listening content online. Are there any other questions? While I'm waiting for that, I will remind you that you can find all of our content, webinars, and tools at learnon.iu12.org. Please be sure to visit the bit.ly/learnonwebeval. This is your opportunity to evaluate what you saw today and gives us the opportunity to grow. Please keep in mind that all bit.ly links are case sensitive. And please do not leave without claiming your Act 48 hours. Jess has been kind enough to put both of those links in the chat box. Are there any other questions? If there are no other questions, I thank you all for coming to see me today. I will be in my Zoom room. I was going to actually hop over there right now, but I don't have the number to put in the chat box. Hold on one moment for me. There we go. I have put the link to my Zoom room in the chat box. I'm going to be hopping over there as soon as we are done here, so that if you have any pending questions, comments, or concerns about literacy in the 3 to 5 grade band online, you can go ahead and hop over and have a conversation with me. Officially, my office hours start at 2, but I know that sometimes we take a break and then forget to go back and do things. So I figured I'd go over now as a convenience for all of you. I thank you all for joining us today, and I hope that you are all well, stay safe, and have a beautiful weekend. Bye, guys.